And we're back. Move is mostly done. I'm still trying to get settled in, so things might look a little different by the time I'm actually fully done. Stuff like I'm missing my mouse of all things, but we'll make it work. So this last weekend, I guess actually real quick, some housekeeping. I'm going to be doing the Wollongong Materia Cup this video. Next video, I should be doing the California Materia Cup. Should be a lot of fun. These are like some of my most like popular videos. People really enjoy these. Also, I do want to recommend that you check out the Gamers Command YouTube. Tori Kelly just put up a deck profile for his winning list in Chicago that goes way more in depth over that than I ever could. Super cool. Love to show some support for some just awesome people and some good friends. So go check them out. And yeah, let's start diving into the Wollongong Materia Cup. So I was in attendance at this one. I missed the cut. I was 11th after Swiss. But these are the people that did make the cut. So the winning deck list was Knights by Braden Towers. And it's definitely an interesting take on Knights. There's a lot that I do like here. There's some stuff that I'm not really in agreement on. So going from the top, I think our Knights are a little bit interestingly laid out. We only have the two Steiner, two Beatrix. Going lower on Steiner makes sense because we're not on Moody, but I kind of feel like, or not Moody, what's his name? Meath. Although I really do like Meath and Knights, I'm not really sure why we're not on the Meath, to be quite honest. Three Charlotte, three Delita, three Agris, three Laswell. I mean, those are like some of your best hits. The Phasalis. Agrius is a lot better in lists that are running Avelia, although the Avelia is just a one of, so I don't know how often you're likely to see it. Three Lilith, which is like the best fire 2-drop knight. Two Miwa, kind of allowing you to try to cheese some kills with Ramza. Ends up letting you go for like surprise lethal, things your opponent might not be expecting. Just a generally really strong card. Also represents more damage, which is cool. You can kind of get the extra point of damage your opponent doesn't expect it by back attacking in Miwa. And then she's like ready to go on the next turn. Two copies of Glaciella. This is really non-standard for Knights. Not sold on this one. It is like a generically good card, but Knights tend to not run stuff like backups that can really pump the damage she can do. So I feel like Glaciella is just as often going to be either discarded to play your Corilla or your backups. I do like the way that she pairs with Lilith. If you have Glaciella and Lilith on the field at the same time, you don't even care about your characters, but I'm not really sold on this one. It is technically a Sid Randell out, but it's a really bad one because you don't get the crystal on our entry, which is actually one of the biggest complaints I have with this list. Is there is no way of dealing with the resolve Sid Randell. Two Renoa. This is starting to become more and more standard in Knights as the lists become more streamlined. Basically, it's kind of becoming more of a blowout if you can stop the Renoa by like removing the Corilla on the stack. Three Gawain. I will say I did play against Braden in the second day of the event, which was a regional, and I really really liked his usage of Gawain. He would often get he would go like Marowip into Gawain a lot, and then Gawain would search Corilla Ramza, and then he would just warp the Ramza. And the idea there was that you would go turn one, you would have Marowip plus Gawain. Turn two, you'd hard play the Corilla, and then turn three, they'd have to deal with the Ramza warp. So you just had like three different like points of interaction that you had to stop if you wanted to slow the deck down. Which I think was actually really, really potent. It's a really heads up play. I really like that line. Two copies of Shantoto. Not standard Knights. Actually a big fan of this one. I really like the extra copies of Ramza. Getting better use of the crystals from Lilith. More ICP is always good. It's extra copies of Laswell. Just an A plus decision on this one. I really like it. The three copies of Garland, three Corilla, three Ramza, all very standard. Three Amaterasu. Interesting on our backups, we have the one copy of Avelia. I do like Avelia when you pair it with stuff like Agrius. I think getting Corilla to 10k, Ramza to 10k, Garland and such up to 9k, like getting Laswell out of Brunhilde range, all really matters and is really important. I do feel like if you're going to run Avelia, you should probably be on at least two, is about my only complaint. I get why we're here, but three copies of Marowib and two Larsas as our searchers. I'm not gonna lie, I think this should be flipped, if anything. Larsa, like, we're never searching with Marrow. Like, I mean, we can search Mila or Glaciella, but, like, in general, I think Larsa being able to get Garland or Ramza is just more potent, or Renoa, for instance, Shantoto. Like, there's just so many things Larsa gets us that Mirrorloop doesn't. But I think the search pool just matters more. Alternatively, like if it's me, I would be on probably like 3 Larsa and 2 Meath instead. But obviously, it worked out very well on the weekend. Limit break deck: 2 Surges, 2 Leo, 2 Victoria, 1 Mott, 1 Tidus. I actually saw him cast a Tidus in like one in the game. I'm not really sold on Tidus and Knights. Again, you just don't build the backups. Like, we have to have 5 forwards on the field for Tidus to actually matter. I think this would be better served to be something like a Leela that can give us an out to Sid Randell from the limit break deck, and at least like, it's not a great card. It's not a card you want to cast, but it is another threat. And I feel like Tidus is just going to be flipped more often than not. Like again, like Mott's a nice little win more card. Like these are all good. I think that the Tidus should probably just be a Leela though. All in all, though, like obviously went very well on the weekend for Braden. He ended up winning the event. And yeah, apparently Knights can win in Australia. For the rest of the top kite, we have a I would call this a Rydia list. I'm Rydia Cat 4. Cat 4 Toolbox is what it's listed as. I mean, it's not nearly as all in as something like the NA list by, oh my god, I forgot his name. We're not on stuff like Zeromus or anything really cute like that. We're only on 7 Cecils. We're not on like 8 or 9 Cecils. And we're focused on the Wind Cecil, not the Water Cecil, which is kind of my preferred build anyway. So we're on the 1-drop Rosa. The idea being that you can go kind of the Rydia Rosa Cecil line, draw a card, refill your hand, and kind of get the protection for Rydia online at the same time. I do like this card. I think it's very slept on. Also enables some funny stuff with the Fusoya in the list, where you play Fusoya without paying water at all. And all Fusoya checks is elements that aren't water used to pay for them. So technically you only need 4 colors if you can pay for them with the other stuff. 3 copies of Rydia. Obviously, it's a Rydia list. Only 1 Porum is shocking to me. I mean, this card is so game warpingly strong. The 2 copies of Garnet. Only 2 Warriors of Light. So we're on kind of a weird Rainbow Rydia hybrid. How many backups are we on? We're 15 backups. We're on a full 7 Cecils. I've always been a bit of a gambler and like to go with 2 Wind Cecils just because it's such a bad card to draw. And if you run 3, you're going to draw it more often. But I do understand why it's here like it is. I don't know. I'm just always been a fan of like Loporit plus this Cecil and just shuffle it back if you need to. Fusoya, Cecil, Une, and that's it for the forwards. 20 forwards. It's actually not a ton. Only one Une is kind of mind-blowing given how strong if you could stick an Une plus a powered up Rydia is. But moving along, 1 Cucullin, which is also wild to me given how strong that card is. 1 Kusith. I mean, just, yeah. 3 Mistdragon, 2 Amaterasu. I think I would personally flip these, but I understand the logic here. 2 Mind Flayer. This has been kind of an interesting thing that started showing up in Rydia lists. Kind of ever since the banning of Sildra, you want a proactive 4-cost summon to play on your turn. Like Mistdragon thing that breaks sounds like fine. Remoring to kill something is like okay, but like they don't have anything. These are kind of all dead cards. And Mind Flayer is like the only 4-cost summon that can generate 4 cost of value back. There's no draw 2s in for this, so like Mind Flayer is like kind of like a draw 1 and play 1, which is potentially really potent. It is very high rolly and kind of gambly. Like if you play against Knights, there's really just not a good hit. You can hit like I guess like the Larsa, but like if you do hit, there's a lot of good cards you can potentially play off of this in the current metagame. So I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I'll put it that way. I get why it's here though. 3 Remora, 3 Leviathan. These are kind of our top ends for our Rydia. Also very strong EX bursts, obviously. For the backups, we're on 3 Lena, 2 King Tycoon, 1 Ico, and 3 Claris, 1 Matoya, 1 Thornton, 3 Tyra, 1 Shantoto. Kind of wouldn't mind seeing like a Bosch if we're going to be on the 1 Shantoto instead. It just feels like we're going to be a little bit more difficult to do that. Especially, I know that Paul was talking about his list and how he was really focusing on getting the EX burst density up, 21 EX burst. Like Bosch can oftentimes read like draw 2 cards. So that's it's like 1 Shantoto. You probably need to run the 1 for top cut, but there's not a lot of ways to return it. We only have the 1 Kusit. A lot of cards in this list, when they're discarded, they're just gone, which is a little scary when you run just the 1 Shantoto. The 3 Tyro, the 1 Thornton obviously is an insane burst. Matoya showing up here is actually a little surprising as well. I mean, a lot of good utility for sure. And then we have the ability to go Claris, King Tycoon, Lena. I feel like we're going to be really low on win cards to play our King Tycoon off of this, though. It's like the Cecils, the King Tycoons, and the 2 Warriors of Light. Probably the intent is to play it off of Cecil. So you go Cecil, Cecil, King Tycoon, develop a backup, search the Lena. And then Lena obviously needs no introduction. This card is just format warping at the moment. We don't have much fire either, so I guess it explains why we're not on like the 1 of Edgar. I almost wouldn't mind seeing like a copy of Leo as like an alternate Claris target. I know that like we have the 2 Leos in the LB deck, but like the ability to go Leo, Warrior of Light, Titus is actually something that we could do in here very easily. It also enables us to run something like a Vossler to help get those up the EX burst count and keep those forwards online. LB deck with the 1 Surges, the 2 Leos, the 1 LB Shantoto, the 1 Mott, only 1 Cloud, 1 Titus, 1 Leela. I guess we don't have a ton of ways to remove a Resolve Set Randall. Like you either have to go in on a Remora or a Leviathan. Leviathan's really bad removal for it. Or you have to like Matoya or Shantoto it away. Since none of this really does it very well. I guess you could like go Rosa, Cecil, and then Tenebris and blast it. But I get why we have the 1 copy of Leela. I do feel like we're going to miss the 2nd Cloud on occasion, though. Overall, pretty solid. I like the look of it. I'm still a little iffy on the concept of playing Rydia in a format where Cloud is the most common LB card. I know that you can go like into this Cecil to protect her, or like, but like even if you like mod it and they just play the 2nd Cloud, they still probably come out ahead given how much investment the Rydia actually has taken out of you. So probably if it was me, like the list is really strong and really cool, and Rydia is very capable of running away with the game. But I would just be scared of this card in particular, kind of ruining your day. Also wouldn't mind something like a Golbez in here, or a Man in Black to search so that we can use the Cloud LB like off the Tyro. I really like the Wind Lightning Golbez, ups our win count to play King Tycoon. We can technically cast it off of Rosa, which would get us access to our Rydia or our Porum or our Lena, which could be really cool. But yeah, it's a really cool list. I've always been a huge fan of Rydia decks, so seeing one do this well is very exciting. All right, so up next we have what I would call like Darkness Manifest Arc, for lack of a better term. Every forward in the deck is multi-element. The idea is that you can turbo into Darkness Manifest with Arc. We have our 4 colors for Warrior of Light as well. I've saw this deck in action. It's really, really interesting and really, really cool. I'd recommend kind of playing this a little bit. I'm a little bit interested on the logic on some of the ratios. Like we're on... I've always liked if you're going to play this Tifa, I like player at 3 or 0. Similarly, like Furion's a card like that's so good. I almost wonder why we're not on 3 of it. Cool to see the Vaughn show up. I know that I apparently had something to do with that one. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of really, really powerful cards. And the Darkness Manifest, if you can, you kind of end up while you're putting your backups down in this list, just discarding multi-element cards. You can just play Darkness Manifest as like an anti-aggro card, and it actually works very well. It's a big 9K. If it dies, it breaks, destroys something else. Combine that with a 2 CP Arc access, it's really, really solid. I think I'd also be interested in seeing like a 2nd Bosch come in. I don't know if Sophie really came up over the weekend, but that's probably what I would cut for it. I'd go like to two Zidane, maybe one Vaughn, go up a Bosch, go to three Tifa. If it was me, third Une would be so choice here too. Only one Amat. We were bold. We do want the Une though because we need to be able to loop our arcs. The backups. Surprised to see the one Ferris. I guess the idea is that like we can search it and discard it to the Lena, but I'm not a huge fan given how much it's going to interfere with our four colors. Like you can't play Thornton if you did that. I guess we were never going for five, so I guess it's probably fine, but wind, water, wind. There's no wind, water forwards in the deck at all, so that's a little bit iffy. Obviously, our burst count's pretty high as well at 20. LB deck looks mostly fine. I think maybe I would go for. I have a lot of small ping for Zach, so I don't think that matters very much. Mott's probably just better in the situation. I might go for a third Leo or run a copy of Cloud here. We have the Tyro, we have the Shantoto. Plenty of ways we could actually play a Cloud in this deck. LB deck right now. This baby can fit so many clouds, as it turns out. Trejnarok. So this is a mono lightning self mill. I've kind of said that like I thought this list had a lot of potential going forward. I just hadn't seen a lot of play. But I mean, you have this kind of very nice mid-range aggro deck. Oh my god! Shoutouts to the Yuri in the LB deck. Yeah, cards like Nath are really cool with these. I actually really like that. We're in the full three Graha. We are. That's also a standard unit lightning backup to enable Graha, which is really, really cool. We have the Alize, the 3 Adia, the 2 Ultimecia. The one X Death, which I guess is. I remember talking with Danny afterwards, and she said that like the X Death was there as a punishment. Like your opponent has to misdragon this deck, and if they do, the X Death can kind of come in and just win the game. I feel like if that's the case, though, you probably should be on 2 copies of it. Similarly, we should be on 3 axes here. I would probably go like down a Fujin maybe, or just cut the Estinian. Estinian's never worth it. Promises so much, delivers so little. Lastly, I think I would split the Rude and Reno for sure. Go one Rude, one Reno. Like both of the text on the cards suck, but getting to 3 backups is actually a pretty big deal in this deck. So if you have the Shinra plus the Reno, you can play the Shinra, get the Rude, and then you have 3 backups off of basically nothing. You can just go to town. The full 3 copies of that Reeve makes sense. Reeve's such a contested name, but we don't really need to revive these that badly to run the other one. So I like that. The 3 is Stola. No bonus is Stola, actually, is really surprising. I almost would like to see like 1 copy of the Wind is Stola. Maybe it used to be in the list. That's why the Yuri's here now. 3 Grahas, 3 Irvines, 3 Ciphers. I mean, the Lightning package is very solid. Just hasn't seen a lot of success or experimentation. I might also split the Gestalt for a Chadley as well, so we can get access to like run 1 copy of Ixion in here. It could be really nice against like a really go wide Twins Warriors deck or something. Also, like a Man in Black to loop the Odin would go pretty hard, I think, as well. Yeah, the limit break deck is you have to run 2 Clouds, 2 Lightnings, and 3 Laylas and mono Lightning. So you have to fill the last one with something. I guess we chose Yuri for the memes. It's probably Yuri's first and only top cut. Alright, moving along, we have Cat 6 by Anthony. And pretty interesting take on Cat 6. I like a lot of what I'm seeing. The full 3 Gao, 3 Strago, I think I would say with Leo makes a big difference, but we ran 3 Victoria for some reason instead of a Leo. Anthony, what are you doing, buddy? You can't cast the 3rd Victoria anyway. Just run a Leo. Get some extra value out of these Gaos and Stragos. Zach is a huge buff to Cat 6 in particular, just given that Sabin can't kill 10Ks, so now you can just kind of cast a Zach as well and clear it. I will say though that like that makes me want to run more fire backups. So seeing the cyan forward is actually very surprising, given that like the demon kind of fills the same role as the cyan to me. The lock is really cool. Three Celes, like the six Sabins. I usually go to five, but I get why you'd want to go to six. Three fiends to kind of buff our water count, make sure we can cast our Strago. That's all good. Only two demons. Don't hate that. There's a lot of ways to get access to him if you need him through like Edgar or lots of other ways. The one Amaterasu has the cheeky one of. I always actually like this, especially because we're running the Terra backup as opposed to the Crystal Terra forward. Obviously, the three of those, the three of Interceptor, two Shadows. I would usually run a Cyan here. We've opted for one copy of Auser, which um, is a Cat 6 water backup, which could be really fun if you ever pulled it off. I just don't see it happening very often, so I would probably not run this, but I get the temptation to try to fit the water Cat 6 backup in. I really like Kais in this slot, the one that you can play for free if you party attack that turn. Because it's a water backup that doesn't need water CP to enter play. But yeah, I actually think this like deck and archetype is very slept on right now, and I love the number of 3Fs. This list is going to be very consistently playing its game plan off. Ethan, I lost this list in my final round, so what eliminated me from getting into Top Cut. 7-color mono Earth. So we're on the full 18 backups. Notably, no Carbuncle in here. We're not copying Ryan Chen, apparently. Two Matoya, one Shantoto. I'm actually very surprised that that's not flipped. Two Amber, one Shinju. We're just simply going to be Giga Chads and not draw the Shinju. I guess you could search Amber with Amber, but obviously feels a lot worse to do that. I actually really don't mind, even if it is a mono Earth deck. You need only Earth backups to run the Genova Synthesis. The one copy of Elba's actually, if you're going to run a Soiree backup engine, actually don't dislike at all, but Genova Synthesis makes that plan a lot worse. Three Claris, three Minor, the one Epitaph, that'll get Leo access, three Leatherworkers, the Fighty Kolka, Lael, Shinju. I wonder if Lael would be better served as a Vanille, to be honest. I know that like this is an outright cancel, and Vanille isn't, but Vanille has the tax and like the secondary benefit of like kind of ripping your opponent's brakes on a little bit. And we're not searching this anyway, so I feel like that could just be a better option. The one of Heka, he tried to do this to me after going Mott to protect his field. I'd misdragon it. Interesting to see only one Titan. We're very low on summons in the list in general. Very high on backups and very high on forwards. It's been kind of funny to see the rise of this Titan. I remember saying, talking with Travis, that like the card was very strong. There just wasn't a mono Earth deck, and it was just awkward enough to cast that you just don't really want to. So seeing it start to show up more and more as the mono Earth has started to do very well. Interesting, we're not on a Chaos Arc variant as well. I know that like I really liked the Chaos Arc variants of this to kind of give the deck some extra teeth, but definitely doesn't need that to succeed. The one Neo X Death, we're playing the Tori Kelly tax. The one Shadow Lord, it's going to help with the Knights matchup. Full 3 Ingus, 3 Leo. What a random all-star Leo's become out of nowhere. This card is also very expensive now. The one Riku, this is budget Leo, but Leo is better for both being cheaper and easier to search. The one Gilgamesh, I should talk with Ethan and see how this actually worked for him, because I'm still just not a fan of this card. I really just don't like it. 3 Warrior of Light, a full 3 Fusoya, so you can actually go Leo Fusoya here, which is really, really potent. Genova Synthesis, the 3 Une. We're on a Shinryu, which is actually really interesting as well. Like I said, we're not on the Chaos Arc. I'm surprised to not see like 2 Unes and then like one copy of like a Montleonis or something to kind of revive our Warrior of Light or our Unes. I think it'd be really cool. Revive an Ingus and go get our searches off. LB deck, we're kind of toolboxing 1-1-1-1-1. Oh, and 2 Tidus, which makes sense. I mean, the whole game plan of the deck is ramp to 5 backups. Leo, Warrior of Light, Tidus is like the very basic mono Earth thing. So you go 5 backups. Leo, Warrior of Light, activate the backups. Tap a backup, ditch 2, play Tidus, tap 3 backups, and then you resolve Tidus. And kind of just puts you in a position to win the game, basically. Especially when you factor in stuff like the Hecaton Shear, the Fusoya, and the Une. It becomes very difficult to actually develop a resource game as a control deck into Mono Earth. Mitchell on the Giga Wall. This is a KP style, so we're on Ice, Lightning, Water. So we're on the Larsa Sarah FFL to search out either Warrior of Lights. Larsa also doubles the way to get to a Dia. Opting for Larsa over the Arias become more standard. I think you might split those, run like 1 Aria, 2 Larsas if it's me. Just to give us better access if you that way, like, you know, they have different utilities. And then for our water cards, we've only 2 Oni Knights, 2 Porums. It'd be a little difficult to get our water into play. We have the 3 Warriors of Light as well, so I'm missing something. 3, 3, 9. Yeah, I am missing. Oh, the 2 Leos in the Limit Break deck. So I really think, I know that like the card is not great. Bumping to the 3rd Onion Knight probably is worth doing here. Drace to get the Porum is really cool. I actually really like that. And then we have a couple Cascade backups, the Mute, Remedy, Sid Randell. Really just not a fan of this Remedy. I know that, like, I don't know. I just feel like she's just not impactful enough for what she does. Like, getting Sid Randell to 8K is really important, but I feel like the search tax is almost better than just, like, taxing on. Because, like, every deck searches in the game at the moment. And you can kind of put your opponent in an awkward situation with, like, a turn 1 Remedy sometimes. You go first, because then if they search, they know that you have the Sid Randell to shut off whatever they search, like, to play it. So I feel like this is just kind of like, it's become the default, but I feel like it should be experimented with a lot more than it has been. Because we're on a Cat 8 package, we're actually on this Squall. I've actually seen this show up a decent little bit in Gigawall. Kind of, there was a little bit of experimentation with like a Cat 8 Gigawall even last set. Other than that, I think it's relatively standard. Only 2 Irvine's a little surprising. I mean, Axis is so insane in Gigawall. Like, it's so good. The 1 Nimbus. I actually like Prish in this a lot better, because if you warp the Prish, you can kill a Sid Randell, and Nimbus can't ever do that. But the ability for Nimbus to stick to the field, and when it's a much more threatening body than Prish is for sure. But I've actually been a big fan of Prish and Gigawall. I think she's kind of underutilized there. The 3 Raijin, 1 Fujin. I'm still not 100% sure I agree with the idea behind that. I get that, like, if the Fujin doesn't do much on her own, but I mean, it's still a free body that, like, threatens things. Deck space is just really tight. And yeah, I think the list makes a lot of sense. I'd be a little curious if our 3-drop count is enough to consistently hit, especially because we have so many unique names. Sorry. You're good. My fiance's our little setup. She's on the other side of the monitor over there. By the way, I have a new mic. Hopefully, it's coming through really nicely. And okay, last one is 7-color mono earth. This is with the Chaos Arc package. I'm not gonna go into this too much. Definitely have our differences. We're on Garnet. We're on the 1 copy of Mount Leonis. We're not on Fusoya here at all. We are on the Carbuncle. Love this card. So cool to see this thing play again. And yeah, so that was the Wollongong Materia Cup. Australia, as always, continues to be the Wild West. No Refia in Top Cut whatsoever, which I still think is the best deck in the game at the moment. It's the deck that I played. Did not prove my own theory, but that's fine. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.